It's Merry Christmas to everyone. Ginika, you look smashing this morning.
Thank you.
You actually look like a cash madam. I haven't seen you dressed up like this before. Shout out to Asa Get well soon. She was not feeling too well, so I guess we're riding solo, me and Ginika. Ginika, do you want to tell us about yourself just briefly?
Oh. Easy, just put me right on the spot. So my name is Ginika Okafor Bamoro, and I am an entrepreneur turned digital consultant. I used to run my own footwear business called Yearly Footwear. I did that for 7 years and then decided to transition to help brands really build their, to build their profile, their visibility in the digital space. So that's what I've been up to in the past year.
Are you a lawyer? You're a barrister by training?
Gosh. Well, I guess I would say I'm jack of all trades, but master of few. Yes, I'm a lawyer by training. I've been called to the bar, but after practicing for like maybe a year or 2 years, I was like, sorry, this is not for me now. So maybe I would go back to it. I'm not sure, but let's see.
Interesting. So today we're talking about laws for 2023, and I remember yesterday night I chatted Ginika up. I'm like, oh, can we make this more funky? And she said laws for soft life, and I thought that was interesting. This year gave birth to a lot of slangs, a lot of words. They play. That's the new one that they say. Your face shine. Your face show. Your shoe shine. There's a lot of slangs. Some of them are even inspired by accident. I mean, bala blue, blah blah, right? But so this year it's been an eventful year. But for a lot of people who are really one step ahead, they're already mentally into 2023, and our role here is to make you plan your 2023 better. So today we'll talk about the laws, the fundamental laws and principles that determine whether or not you're going to have a good year, right? Like I like to say, anybody can fall off a ladder by accident. Nobody climbs a ladder by accident. So we're going to run you through different laws for 2023, and somewhere along the line, we'll probably do a trivial and people can win stuff. So today, we're talking about the fundamental principles you must understand before you get into 2023. If you're listening right now, you're CEO and MD of a firm, right? This might just be a perfect time for you to get your pen and your jotter to sort of take notes. I think the first and fundamental law is, and by the way, this whole thing is inspired by a book called The Hexavian Laws of Business, right? There are basically so many principles and steps and laws that you must follow. And one of those laws, first of all, is called the law of purpose, and they'll have the law of vision, the law of character, and all that. But I'm going to just bring them down in bits. We'll try and make this as interactive as possible, right? So, Ginika, I guess over to you. If you do have idea of any of the laws, which one do you think is perhaps the most striking to you?
To me, I think the most important is the law of people. I think that's what a lot of people neglect for anything, right? Anything in life is about human connection. So when you're starting your own business, you're working for someone, it's really about human connection. And I think that first of all, before all this, all the things in all the laws, I think the law of people is very important because first, if you're able, of course, you have a vision, right? You're able to articulate your vision, but it's also important for people to buy into your vision because you can't do everything by yourself. And what's the best way for people to buy into your vision is by being authentic, being genuine, and being kind. Because we live in a world where a lot of people just want to use people to get to the next level. And you see that can only take you so far, right? But I feel like when you know people, when you interact with people and you're interacting from a place like, what can I do to help you? Like, this is my vision. What's your vision? How can your vision and my vision align? I think that's the sweet spot. And I think that once you're able to hit it off, you're able to achieve all the other goals once you get that right. So to me, that's actually very, very important because last year just taught me, or even 2022 really taught me a lesson on human connection and the law of people.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. One of my most favorite brands of all time is Starbucks, right? Starbucks they have almost over 15,000 stores. And just in case anyone is wondering how that is possible, you might interest to know that the brands with the biggest number of stores in Nigeria don't have more than 600, 700. I mean, the banks and the filling stations. How do you have a business that has 15,000 different units? And something that hit me about Starbucks was their slogan. It says, we're not in the business of selling coffee. Anybody that knows Starbucks knows they sell coffee. But what they say is, we're not in the business of selling coffee. We're actually in the business of people. We just happen to sell coffee to them. And for me, that was striking. I said that again. It says, we're not in the business of selling coffee. We're in the business of people. We just happen to sell coffee to them. If only people understand how powerful it is to treat people like they are individualistically and to connect with people one-on-one. I mean, your first bath in life was given to you by someone. Your last bath in life was given to you by someone. And in between, how you manage those people, right? And something my wife said to me 2 days ago was really powerful. You know, every day I'd come back from work and I'd ask my son, I'd say, oh, so what did you do today? And she just laughed and said, why don't you switch the story around and not ask, what did he do today? How about you ask him, who did you help today? Right? And, you know, for the first time I had to pause. I'm like, okay, that actually makes sense. When you start to raise children who go out of their way to help people, right, they grow up to become better adults, which eventually is the value, because all these things we're trying to almost robotically do in business, like customer care, right, customer service, is actually not you being able to, if you're just a naturally good person, pleasant, it's just easier for you to be able to have that type of relationship. So let me just ask you, what's your favorite brand when it comes to people centricity? Brands that you know that have they have a pleasant outlook, they love people, they will do a lot more for feedback or for even just making people go extra mile just to make people more comfortable. Is there any brand that comes to mind, local, international?
Okay, because I'm very pro-local, so I would just focus my attention on local brands. But I have a couple of brands. One is a hair brand called Hiki Hair. And one of the things I love about that brand is the fact that she goes all out. Like, they go all out to make sure that you have like utmost consumer and customer experience. So I had a situation where I sent my hair for to kind of wash and all those things, and it came back, it wasn't what I wanted it to be, and I wasn't even in the country. They sent it to my friend, and I just sent a message to the owner, and she was like, you know what, that is unacceptable. She got someone to go all the way to pick it up. The place and the place from the address to their store was like, it was a bit of a distance, and the person was leaving that day. She got someone to pick it up. They did everything they had to do. They sent it back, and she's very apologetic about it. Like, her customer service is top notch. That's one thing, and that's why, like, even as much as like I love other hair brands, I keep going to her, because you don't only get quality, but you really get the consumer experience is really good. And then there's a couple of Instagram brands that I have tried out this year, and they're really good. There's this girl that really comes to my mind. Funny enough, even though I'm a footwear maker, I'm wearing her footwear because it's really good. It's called I think it's Ale by hold on, so I can get.
You literally had to take off your shoes.
Yes, it's called Ale by April. My God, this girl, she's onto something. Her response time is phenomenal. Like, you send her a message, she gets back it's impeccable. She's so good. I recommended her to like family and friends, and these are the kind of people that I want to recommend to the whole world. And I'm not being paid for any of these things, but when you put your consumer ahead, when you think about them, it's like, how can I make their life better? You find out that you don't even need to, like how a lot of people say, package yourself. You don't need to package yourself. You don't even need to pay for promo. Of course you do, bits and bobs of promo, but your product will sell for itself, because people will recommend, word of mouth, and people are more likely to buy a product when it's recommended by someone who's very close to them. So for now, like at the top of my head, those are the two brands that I know that I've really been impressed by their customer service and their love for people, because it's all about the product, it's about the people, and yeah.
Absolutely agree. I mean, you'd be shocked at how people take certain things for granted. I mean, I've spent over 15 years building businesses and startups. I always say that if you want to compete, don't compete without a competitive advantage. And the only three ways, according to business schools, the only three ways you can win competition. One is pricing, right? The second one is niche focus. But the third one, people don't really pay attention to it a lot. Now, a lot of people do price wars. So you have a business, you go into a new industry, because you want to win competition, you bring down your price. Common sense. You want to be cheaper, right? And I always tell people that while that makes sense, right, that's not the ultimate or the best way to win competition. Because at the end, you just set up a price war, and somebody reduces his price, you reduce your price, reduce the price. At the end, you both probably will lose out, right? when you sell below your cost price. Niche focus is taking a specific segment and saying, I'm going to be in this segment. Shout out to Ife Durosime. We were just talking about her economy, how she's building a bank mainly for females. That's very niche focus. But the last one is really in relation to people, is differentiation, right? How do you create a differential, especially in a market that is almost homogeneous? Let me give an example, the airlines. When you fly, right, you're going to say, let me say, you're going to Lagos, Abuja, let's say local, like you said, if two planes take off at the same time, they probably land almost at the same time, right? They are probably the same airlines, same aircraft, but then what differentiates them is how you feel when the hostess interact with you and all that. So I absolutely agree. But let's get back to the laws of business. Maybe we can switch this the other way around, and maybe you can ask me questions around the laws, because I really want people to be able to, at the end of this show, be able to say, okay, these are the laws that I must not break. So one of them we've said now is don't break the law of people. Be more people-centric, whether you want to leverage on a community or build your own community. Because if you look at the 21st century businesses that are doing so well are businesses that have their own community, right? People don't realize that Apple is a billion deep community. There's a billion deep people in the Apple community. I mean, yesterday Obama released his playlist, Apple playlist of the year. And shout out to Burna. Burna had 2 songs. Ashake had 2 songs on Obama's playlist for the year. And that's really powerful in itself. So maybe you want to ask questions around the laws, and then maybe I can respond to it.
So for you, like mine is like the law of people. That's actually something that is very important for me, especially going into 2023. For you, what's top of your list? Give me 2 laws that you think that people have to pay attention to getting into 2023.
Okay, so one would be the first law, right? And I really wish I had all the time to break down the whole laws, right? But there's 21 of the laws, right? First is purpose, and that's and it's the reason why it's number 1, right? I feel like if people are more intentional, purpose, 80% of the problem in life will be solved, right? People are not intentional. People don't define what they're going to. So anywhere they get to will look like it. People, I mean, how many people, for example, this year, at the year end, has started a fast? I'm not trying to be religious, but a fast to intentionally pray your way into the new year. No, that's not the same thing as the watch night service thing you do. I say, God, I want you to tell me what my plan for next year should be, right? And I can sync myself according to that. Or how many people wake up every morning knowing statistics? I mean, I've seen a lot of things around memes this season and how people are like, oh, people are just doing dirty December. How many people intentionally have said, look, this is the amount of money. And, the longest month is literally January, right? Just people being intentional, right? Purpose is key. I'm a huge fan of the Japanese people, just their comparative management principles. And there's a Japanese principle called the law of Ikigai that says for you to be able to live a fulfilling life, you have to find 3 circles, right? 1 is something you're very good at, something you're passionate at, something you're good at, 1, 2, something you're passionate about, and 3, something you can make the most money from. It's actually a mathematical formula, because like a set Venn diagram with 3 circles, and says where those 3 circles converge is what your purpose is. And my prayer for anybody this year is that they get into 2023 with the purpose of Ikigai, to say next year, what can I be the best at? And you optimize it. Something happened in our firm this year, and we said, oh, you know what? Towards the end of the year, we had like a retreat, and we said, look at all the brands, all the companies that we work with, right? Look at the ones that we want to concentrate more on, and the ones we want to say, oh, you know what, we want to discontinue our retainership because it's distractive to what we're building, right? So I think purpose for me is key, just being intentional, right? Asking yourself, what is the, you don't want anything to catch you unawares. I mean, life happens once in a while, but you just saying, look, I was intentionally trying to build this. When we're driving today, we're talking about parenting and how intentionally we can raise the children who, we don't want things happening to us. We want things happening because of us, not to us. And I think for me, that's a key variable.
Yeah. But Eizu, I wanted to ask you, I'm basically piggybacking up your the law you just spoke about. And I feel like there's this whole thing about purpose, but you think that it's what do you think about people who they haven't found their purpose? Because I think that a lot of people feel this vacuum, and I feel like sometimes it's very paralyzing, and they feel like, okay, I'm doing this. Is this my purpose? Is this my purpose? Because there's this whole thing about find your purpose. This your purpose, and then you hear like motivational speakers saying so what do you say to people who are like, okay, I'm good at A, B, B, C, D, but how do I know this is my purpose? How can I differentiate between, something that I love and it's my purpose? What is really a purpose? Like, does it mean going into a business, or like really expand?
I get what you mean. It's one of the most it's a buzzword, right? Find your purpose, especially around maybe religion and motivational speakers, right? I agree with you, but it's not as easy as it sounds. I feel like 8 billion people on earth, 90-something% don't know their purpose. So this is my own template. In the course of trying to find your purpose and you're confused, just find your passion. Passion is easier to find than your purpose. Most of the time when you find your passion and you invest in your passion, especially using that passion to the service of others, you stumble upon purpose. So this is not even theoretical in any way, right? So you don't know why you were created, right? You don't know why God created you, right? Shout out to, there's a book I read early in life and it was really inspiring. And I think everybody should read the book. It's called Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren, right? One of the things Rick Warren talked about in that book is when you can't find your purpose, right? Just ask yourself, what is that thing that I enjoy to do, right? And then, so let me give a practical example. I spent 13, 14 years doing consulting. I'm sure that's something I enjoy to do. But in that process of doing management consulting, I've actually drawn closer to my purpose, knowing that, okay, so follow this step. What is that thing I enjoy doing? Right, then how can I use that thing I enjoy to do to bury myself in the service of others? Right, so for me, helping people's business grow, right, is something that is the service of others, right, the service of others. And the funny thing about it is, in the process of helping other people's business grow, my business has grown drastically. And one of the things that's happening to us in Hexavian is a great year for us this year, not even because of the revenue, but the amount of equity we got in other businesses. So these days, when we were talking to someone who has a brilliant idea but can't afford us, I said, but I really need you to help me, and I know I can help. I'm like, okay, would you be ready to do a 5% equity on this startup idea? And I'm sitting back to myself, I'm saying, no, in the next 5 years, we'll probably have but equity in 20 businesses. Is a game of numbers. Some will, some won't succeed, right? So I think that if anyone's listening right now saying, oh, this year was good for me, but I didn't have that fulfillment of purpose, just ask yourself, what do I enjoy doing? Then how can I serve people? So maybe you enjoy children, you enjoy hanging around kids, right? And that's something you enjoy. I mean, your happy place is to play with. You just want to be young again. In your neighborhood, how can I use that, my love for children, to serve people? So you can go to working class mothers, for example, and say, oh, you know what? I know you're working, right? I'm not working, right? But you can drop off your kids during work hours. Don't even think of it as a crutch. Just say, I want to serve with what I know I enjoy doing it. Something that even if I'm not paid to do it, I will still do it. And then they can drop off their kids. Every Saturday, people go for one best party. They don't know where to drop off their kids, right? Before you know it, words get around that, oh, she's so good with kids, right? You realize that at some point, people won't mind to pay you. And who knows, in the next few years, you might own one of the biggest schools. And this is just how it works, right? So for me, I think that's the closest people can get. Find your purpose. If you can't find your purpose, or you're not sure how to find your purpose, find your passion and bury that passion in the service of others and connect something else.
Okay, and I think in one of the things in your point, there's something you said I think is very profound, and it's also, of course, it happens to be one of the laws, and that's actually law of value, because the truth is people will pay you for value.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about people who want to take advantage. Those are not the people we're speaking about. We're speaking about people who will genuinely pay you for value. So I guess if you find something you're passionate about and you can build value around that, structures around it, build value, people will be able to pay you, and you can actually end up monetizing. But don't start with money in mind. I think when you start with service, because I think that service and value, I think they go hand in hand. When you think about service, it's like, how can I make someone's life better? How can I be my brother's keeper? So, and I feel like there's also an empathy aspect involved in that, because it's almost like you putting yourself in the shoes of someone. So, as you said, if you're very passionate about kids, you're thinking, how can I help a working mother? How can I let her just even enjoy herself for a day? And before you know it, she can.
Absolutely. And people might be wondering how we're just having a discussions around even business, because we do realize that there's a correlation between the very successful businesses, whether local or international, the biggest brands. I mean, the biggest brand in the world would be like the likes of Amazon, Alphabet, that's Google, Meta, that's Facebook. Or even look at Nigerian brands that have done extremely well in last 10 years. I mean, shout out to like people like Paystack, Flutterwave. And you find a weird correlation people don't see, that the most successful businesses happen to be the most valuable businesses to people, not as a balance sheet. And I'll give you a good example. If I ask you, what's one brand that has revolutionized how you live life? People don't think about it. It's actually Google, right? Imagine life without being able to search for things online, right? Or imagine you not even able to find where you're going to because there's no Google map, right? And people don't realize how powerful Google map is, because the likes of Uber and Bolt and all these guys are riding on the back of Google map, right? So I think that one of the first things, and you're really right, absolutely, is for you to build a great brand next year, you've got to, put profit almost at the back burner and say, how can I serve people better? And the first way to do that is fresh fruits, because of the fresh fruits, right? And I'm not talking about tithe and offering now. I'm talking about that thing you're sure you can be valuable in. Don't be too quick to monetize it, right? I give a good example. One of the best things that happened to me this year was I got into a community and I saw how many entrepreneurs in that community. And the next thing that someone chatted in the group, like, oh, I know you from way back. You do consulting. What would it cost you to do a masterclass for these community members? And I just laughed and I said, no worry, I'll do it for free. Like, oh, where? I'm like, yeah, let's do a breakfast session. So the breakfast session, I said, we're Eko Hotel. Anyone knows that Eko Hotel is not cheap, and it's like tens of people. And I'm like, yeah, don't worry, I'll do the breakfast session for all of you. Like, okay, so how much do we need to pay for our food? I'm like, no, don't worry, it's buffet. It's all on me. It was weird when I even told it to my team, like, who does that? But they asked you, right? But guess what? People showed up. Matter of fact, even towards the tail end of the thing, people are like saying, oh, well, can we get a POS? Like, no, there's no POS. People, and you'd be shocked at, you should just go on a voyage, not caring about where you to end. You always end at a very good place. So the point is freemium. Freemium is take that premium service and give it out for free for the first fruits. Let's talk about, there's a brand that gave bleach, this Jig Bleach company, a good run for their money in the last few years. It was Hypo. I don't know if anyone knows Hypo Bleach.
Yes.
The first hundreds or thousands of units of Hypo that was produced, right, was given out on the street for free. Right? Because people need to try. There has to be proof of concept. So for you next year is January. Ask yourself, what can I give to people for free? Right? That won't cost you too much, so you don't have to break the bank, but it could be anything. It could be, you want to set up a new restaurant, do food testing, right? You are doing a car lot, you have a car lot, you sell cars. You can say, okay, you know what, you want to buy this car, but you're not sure whether you want to buy this car. Okay, I'll give you the car for 24 hours, right? Let insurance cover anything that happens in 24 hours. The chances by quantitative risk analysis of a car crashing in 24 hours that someone ticket is very slim, right? So let people try out the car and see whether they would fall in love with the car. Just think freemium, right?
Yes.
And I think that's a good concept.
Yes. Okay, so for me, another law that I think that it's very valuable for 2023 is the law of knowledge. You need to know what you're selling. And selling is not actually, it's not selling in the real sense of selling. I'm speaking metaphorically.
Yeah.
You need to know your onions. You don't want to be that person that you package yourself, and you got to the room and then they're not asking you questions. You're looking like, okay, or maybe you even got into the room, you got a seat at the table, but you couldn't sustain that seat because you don't know what you're on about. And I see a lot of that. Like I've heard people like, package is like fake it till you make it. The truth, it's all well and good till you fake it till you make it, and you then get there and then it's like, okay, so what next? And the truth is, the people who know, they know how to sieve people who fake it till they make it, because the truth is there's only so much your sharp guy or like your common sense can get you. Sometimes you just need to know your stuff. So are you like, maybe say like you're a business person, you need to know your numbers, Funny enough, like I have a very funny story. So I remember that there is when I started my business, I'm